All right, good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Live the Fuel show. So today we're bringing back another repeat co-host from my favorite crew here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, from Mind of the Athlete. And today we have our returning sports nutritionist, Aaron Sparrowhole, coming back to the show. And we, as usual, this is a conversational format, so we are not doing a pre-designed Q&A session. I haven't been able to catch up with her in probably almost a month, and she hasn't caught up with me. So you guys are going to be catching up with us together. So Aaron, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott. I'm happy to be here.
So what's going on? What's going on? I mean, we got so much going on, but I'll let you start.
Thanks. Oh, just keeping busy. Lots of people trying to get healthy. Spring is here, so the practice is going kind of crazy, which is a good thing. Everybody's getting out, getting ready for their events, starting to train more, have some specific training goals they're trying to meet. So my meeting with a lot of individual athletes, meeting with some football players, trying to gain some weight, meeting with some triathletes, getting ready for their season. Lots of really fun stuff, planning some cooking demonstrations, all kinds of cool stuff.
Oh, you do that a lot. Actually, I was going to bring that up anyway. But actually, for our newer listeners, just so you guys know, Mind of the Athlete, they started working together with me about a year ago, or not a year ago, but like last year. And the cool thing is this is an entire team of sports psychologists, and then Aaron is the only sports nutritionist. And they work with universities, high schools, people of all ages, including even corporate and businesses and stuff like that. So the cool thing is, like, I know most recently I saw something on Facebook that you guys have it's local, obviously, but you have like a local cooking event or something like that coming up.
Yeah, I do. I'm hosting a cooking demonstration at Seasons Olive Oil and Vinegar Tap Room in downtown Bethlehem on Main Street.
So, and I've been there. That place is tasty just by having some olive oil by itself. So
it's my foodie happy place. I love it there.
Yeah, let's be real. We all love to snack. Let's see, there's different terms. What are the terms nowadays? Snack, nosh, munch. I mean, we could probably come out with a few.
A few.
Do you have one of your own? What's one of your faves?
My favorite snacks?
Snack, nosh. What term do you like to use?
Oh, snack.
Okay, so you're basic. Okay.
I'm basic. Like, I've got 3 kids.
I see people on Instagram and Facebook, and they're posting. By the way, I don't know where this came from, but the whole nom nom thing, like, oh my god, it looks so tasty. They post nom nom. And
nom nom. Yeah, that just.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. It reminds me of Pac-Man for some reason. Whenever I see that, I think Pac-Man.
Yeah, I posted it one time, and then I looked at it, and I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. Since you don't know what that is, don't ever use that ever again.
Yeah, I've never used that one.
I don't get it. And you know what? In the end, as long as you're using nom 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 or whatever they're calling it, NOM, for healthy stuff, cool. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it on a glazed, jelly-filled sugar bomb donut. So
totally fair. Yeah, no.
But so real quick. Normally, at an event like that, you're talking about olive oil, you're talking about vinegars and stuff like that, which is really their niche. Like, they bring in a lot of international stuff, I believe.
Yeah,
I don't think they have a lot of
products.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do they have a lot of U.S. stuff? I haven't been here a little while.
They have, I think the olive oils are sourced from Italy. The balsamic vinegars, though, I'm not 100% sure where those are sourced from. I think that one of the owners... and again, this is, I think I'm recalling this correctly. They have a vineyard. Her family has a vineyard in Italy that they get some of their stuff from.
Well, and the cool thing is, and I'm still trying to get them on the show, but I have, not them specifically, actually, sorry. I'm trying to get the founders of the olive oil company that I'm hooked up with, Villa Capelli. So I don't know, I forget if I told you ladies, like, I have my own discount code. If you go to villacapelli.com, you can go to and use fuel, FUEL, in the checkout.
Oh, okay.
That's my code. And
cool.
You get, anybody can use that code. They say, hey, this is for your listeners. They get 10% off the order, because I literally ordered my olive oil straight from their farm, their villa in Italy.
Nice. I think I've seen you post about it, and you've posted a picture of it. It's beautiful, green, rich olive oil. Yeah, I loved it.
It's not just that. Their nickname, and sorry, listeners, we're going to geek out a little bit here about olive oil, because we're going to get into why, okay? But this is, it's called from an area of Italy. It's called Puglia, Puglia. And so they've started creating a nickname for their olive oil. It's called the Puglia Pinch. So I literally do a shot of it every morning, unless I'm fasting. Then obviously I don't put those fats in. But take a shot of it and especially because I'm doing podcasts today, and you get this like pinch in the back of your throat when you finish swallowing it, and it's like a peppery aftertaste.
Oh,
And
nice.
apparently there's some science behind that too. Like apparently the
Hmm.
more peppery, pure olive oils like that are just so rich and pure and just higher nutrient content.
Hmm.
There's some other benefits for the body that comes out of
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I don't know if you know about any of that science behind that, but I know that in the end, we're talking about healthy fats,
Hmm.
and that green is not food dye, unlike a lot of olive oils that we have the pleasure of buying off the shelf here in this country. So now
Yeah.
here we go, guys. So listeners, I'm going to get into my little fired up thing because Aaron, I know, is going to fuel with me on this. Is that if you read the book Extra Virginity, powerful book that just rips the industry wide open here in the States and how they can pretty much do whatever they want and publish whatever they want. You have a call coming in at your office, by the way.
Yeah, we do. Sorry about that. I don't know if our office assistant is here. Sorry.
It's okay. See, this is real, guys, all right? She's literally interrupting her day to give us valuable content to educate you guys as listeners. So this is real. So anyway, but back to olive oil, because that's more important here. What's the deal? What do you think? Have you read that book? Obviously, we're talking about this. You've got to read that book. Oh my God, you're a nutritionist?
I will add it to my stack. Dude, you should see my reading stack. It's
okay, real
no
quick,
joke.
look behind me. That's just the newer ones. Everything else has been filed below. Like I got three of those have been started, and then I just start buying. If I get the physical ones from the authors, because I'm bringing some authors on lately, I just go back and I go buy on Audible. I tell them all, listen.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna follow the Scott Mulvaney school of thought and do my books on Audible from here on out because I'm in the car way more than I have time to sit down and read.
Right. It's like it's efficiency thing too. It's like I'm like, dude, I want to get all that content in, and I want to enjoy new books all the time. I just can't sit down and read. I can't. It's just impossible. And then I feel guilty because I'm not growing my knowledge. And then also, if I'm bringing an author on, I'm like, dude, I didn't have time to read your book yet, and that really hurts me. So
fair enough.
But yeah, so anyway, that whole book you got to read because, well, actually, and I didn't read it. I listened to it, and it is on Audible.
You got the content. How you got it doesn't matter.
The point is, it's like, and I'll just do a very short synopsis for listeners and you. It's just, dude, the companies here, once the olive oil leaves like places like Italy and Greece, it's unregulated. So when it arrives, it's treated just like drugs, like cocaine from Central America, South America. They come in purity, and then they immediately start cutting it to increase their profits. So they start adding in other oils. And literally, there's even, I forget the name of it, but it's translated to kerosene. There's companies who literally put that in some of their olive oils.
Well, that's awesome.
It's disgusting. So the point is, though, like they can do whatever they want. It's not regulated by the FDA. So there's nobody like cracking down. Now, thanks to that book years ago that came out, there's been a lot of stuff as we're trying to really focus on health these days. They are trying to do something, but there's still no legal thing happening yet, other than just us. People like us and that viral chick online, Food Babe. Food Babe. She talks about all that stuff too. So because it's like guys don't know. It's like, oh, olive oil, it's supposed to be green. It's not supposed to be yellow. Here in Eastern U.S., have you ever been to a diner? If you ever go to a diner and you ask for oil and vinegar for your salad, it's yellow. That's not olive oil.
No, no. There may be like a chemically extruded olive oil that's not like a good, healthy first pressing or anything like that. No, not a good one. And it should be, if you put it in your fridge, it should be solid. It should coagulate and become really, really thick. So if you're getting a dressing from the store, you put it in your fridge and it says it's an olive oil dressing and it doesn't get really, really thick, it's not a good olive oil.
Well, here's something. Have you ever used the Bragg's products? Is that how you pronounce them? Bragg's
I use their
products.
liquid aminos, and I've used their apple cider vinegar.
Okay. So I've used their apple cider vinegar when I do my bone broth because that helps extract the marrow from the bones faster.
Yep, just made some last night.
Yep. And then before I switched back to just literally doing pure olive oil with a little bit of vinegar, I was trying their Bragg's. They have like a vinaigrette. And I did notice that when you put it in the fridge, it coagulated. And as I've grown my knowledge to try and catch other people like you, it's like, oh, that's a good thing. You want that to coagulate. So
absolutely.
No, obviously since then I haven't used that in probably a year because, as I was saying, when I use Villa Capelli, the flavor is so rich
Mm.
That's all I have to put on. I mean, if I'm really feeling fancy, then I break out a little bit of like vinegar or balsamics. But you got to be careful with that too, because as you know, I
No
really push
sugar.
this NSNG, no sugar, no grain thing. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's like I don't really want a sugary stuff added.
Yeah.
But again, sometimes you got to put a little, as the founder of NSNG, Vinny says, he's like, it's okay to put a little life into living from time
Oh
to
my
time.
gosh, 100%. You're supposed to enjoy your food, and
Right.
it's just finding the right balance that you're not overindulgent too
Yeah.
often.
You
But
don't
yeah.
drizzle the whole salad with
Yeah.
vinegar.
And a
So
good
it
vinegar, you
looks like a
don't need
black
to.
pinstriping. It looks like black pinstriping. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, you can just mix a little. And you, like you just said, when you've got a good, rich,
Mm-hmm.
quality product, you don't need a lot.
Mm-mm. Nope, not at all. Not at all.
So is this what you guys are going to be talking about and teaching on, is proper use of these products when you have that event?
I will be talking about their products a little bit, but really more than anything, it's about the recipes that I'm preparing and using
Okay.
their products to make healthy foods more palatable and fun, because again, you have to enjoy the foods. And a lot of the people that I work with aren't ready to jump onto a complete no sugar, no grain. Some of them haven't even ever had kale. So
Mm.
getting them to eat something like that the first time, making it more palatable, making it enjoyable, making it fun. Some of these vinegars and olive oils, they do that, but at the same time, they're also adding some of the health benefits as well. So a lot of times people go into healthy eating and they think it's going to be wheatgrass and boiled fish, and I am 100% a total foodie. And I love food, and healthy food can absolutely taste amazing. So part of what I like to do with these cooking demonstrations is just meet people in that foodie zone, but ramp up their knowledge on the health benefits to the foods and eating whole foods.
So here's a hack for you real quick, because we talk about vinegars, you're talking about incorporating these types of products back into our cooking,
Mm-hmm.
which is funny. And I say back into our cooking because this is stuff that has been done for years, but then people have strayed away.
Can I tell you a funny
Gotten
story?
lazy. Yes, please.
So this whole bone broth thing is like taken off and become like a huge deal. And I'm like, what's this bone broth? Like, what's going on with all this bone broth? And then I start digging into it and look at it.
Made it?
Exactly. I'm like, well, that's how I make broth. It's just become like all the collagen, which is great information.
Were you talking to your grandparents about it and that's what they said? Or
oh gosh, I love my grandmother, but she was a terrible cook. No.
Oh, see, that's how I grew up. My mom, you would butcher the chicken, and like, we literally had chickens, and we butchered our own chickens, and then you had dinner, and then the carcass, what's left behind, you would save it and then make it into some people say, oh, I'm gonna make a broth for a stew or whatever. And it's like that's what you do. Now, granted, there's some advanced techniques that we've learned since those days, right? Like
to extract
chicken
more
bones.
collagen and
like you can't you can slow cook the bones in a slow cooker for like 24 to 48 hours or whatever the time period is. Use vinegar to help extract it. But chicken bones, for example, there is some labor involved. You're supposed to be getting back in there every couple of hours, breaking up the bones, helping extract that stuff out, which a lot of people just don't want to have time for that. Admittedly, it's a process. It's a process.
It is, yeah. I didn't go to that level before, but no, my mother was actually a really good cook, and so I would watch her use our Thanksgiving turkey and turn it into turkey soup for days, and she would use the carcass and create the broth. And so
nice.
I actually learned more from my mom, and not from like so much a health perspective, but just that she really embraced the depth of cooking and doing things from scratch. So.
Well, and let's be real. I mean, I know you and I both follow a lot of different things on Instagram, and I think I love following healthy feeds, and we talk about, let's come up. This is very common. A lot of people are like, I don't want a meal prep. I don't want a meal plan. Now, and to what your point was earlier, not everybody's ready for that yet.
No. Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta say, hey, have you ever even eaten a piece of kale? And sometimes I like to do that. I like to torture people and tell them to eat it raw first.
That's so mean. I have a wrestler that tried it, and I think he tried it raw, and now he's like completely adverse to kale, and it's But funny.
You see, it was a lesson. Like, no. That was the worst case scenario. I was like, now I'm going to show you what to properly do with it. You have to like steam it, or you basically, you can't just eat that. It's not like spinach. You can't just pull a piece of spinach out and eat it. And plus, to get into some of the science behind it, not everybody's palates have been defined or refined enough, so to speak, to even be ready for that yet,
No,
right?
you need to learn to
we're
like
numb.
vegetables. Yeah.
We're numb. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's people are so, we've talked about this before because I get crazy into detoxing and cleansing and everything else. It's like people don't realize that your body could be so toxic depending on your lifestyle. And there's many different lifestyles, but depending on how unhealthy your lifestyle was, you've built up so much toxicity in your body that you literally are numb and you're not literally tasting some of the flavors of things. It's just food. You're just eating it. You're not enjoying it.
And your taste buds become desensitized, and the distribution of your taste buds changes based on your diet, and your taste buds are what registers the flavor neurologically to your brain. So people are crazy desensitized. All the processed foods are so hopped up on flavor enhancers, and it's insane. So they've become desensitized. So whole foods taste very, very different, but it only takes a few weeks of eating cleaner, getting some sugars out of your diet, and then all of a sudden these foods really take on a very rich dynamic.
Well, and real quick, just because I missed this one earlier when I was trying to come back in on it, you just hit on it. Removing the sugars, again, this takes time. You don't just go to my crazy level, but
yeah, no. Yeah.
Right. It took me this time. It took me a lot of time to make that transition.
It's so good that you're saying that, because people need to understand it. People tend to come in to see me or to talk to professionals, and they think I have to go from 0 to 1,000 overnight, and that's not the case.
I had this conversation about fat loss and weight loss the other night with one of my clients. I'm like, guys, like, you can't just flip the switch. Everybody wants to flip the switch. Everybody they come back from like a coaching event, or they just had this very inspirational YouTube video they watched or whatever. And like, that's it. This is my year. We can rewind back to New Year's Eve, New Year's resolutions. This is why most of them fail. It's like, no, guys, you got to set a realistic plan. Start setting up the little steps, the little wins. And one of the most important things that kind of ties back everything we just been discussing, in order to cut the sugars and reawaken the taste buds, you also have to be replacing that with what you've been missing this entire time. And I'm going to touch heavily right now on healthy fats. The reason why our foods are so bland and our recipes have been so bland, because we've had 15 to 20 years of incorrect marketing. Right, low fat. I'm like, no, guess what? You stripped all of the healthy fats out, not just fat because of flavor. I'm talking about healthy fats that we need. You've stripped them out, and the food is less palatable. It's not enjoyable.
And a lot of the nutrients aren't as bioavailable either. A lot of the nutrients that are in the kale, that are in the carrots, that are in the tomatoes, that are in the peppers, that are in all those really healthy whole foods, some of them are fat soluble. So you need fats on your salad in order for your gut to be able to absorb them efficiently.
Okay, so this is important. We're getting a little techie now, a little science. Bioavailability and fat soluble, and basically sum all that up. We talk about how fat is necessary to carry certain nutrients through our body, across the gut barrier, all that stuff. So let's dig into that a little bit more. How do you really dumb that down? I mean, I'm not saying that our listeners are dumb, all right? I want to just simplify this. So there's no question that anybody who listens to this episode understands the importance of this point.
You know what? Honestly, you did a great job of it already. You eat the foods, and when these foods get broken up in your stomach into smaller pieces, and then they get dumped into your intestines, and then your intestines have all these great enzymes that help to break it down, digest it more. And then throughout your small intestine, different portions of your small intestine, your body absorbs these nutrients. But in order to get them from the inside of your intestine through the different layers of the intestinal wall into your body where these nutrients can be beneficial, they have to be transported across. So when I say there's a fat soluble vitamin, it's like dissolving, like when you make your salad dressings and you have your oil and your vinegar. Some stuff stays in the oil, some stuff stays in the vinegar. Some stuff dissolves into the oil, that's a fat soluble. Some stuff sits in the vinegar, those are water soluble. So you have to have some fats in that salad or in your meals to get those vitamins that are soluble in fats transported across from the inside of your gut, transported across the gut, the intestinal tissue, and into your bloodstream and into your body.
You see, you definitely expanded more on what I said.
Well, I can nerd out farther, but I'm putting the restraints on a little bit.
Well, I mean, here's the funny thing. and actually, this is where this episode could totally go. Besides us catching up on things, it's also like, we got to simplify this stuff. It doesn't need to be rocket science. And yeah, I've become more and more of this. There's a term now, that the whole biohacker thing, and I'm really getting deeper into this stuff, and I'm loving it. And I had that famous Dr. Jack Cruz on, he's like, well, no, I'm beyond biohacking. I'm a mitohacker. He's hiking.
Yeah, that was fascinating.
Oh my God,
mitochondria adaptations.
My brain was like blown. Yeah. I'm like, wow. Yeah. I got to follow this guy. And by the way, have you even tried going to his site? Thousands of blog articles. That guy's been publishing content for years. Like, nobody can defeat him. Like, there's so much content out there, and he just keeps pushing more and more. I love his giving nature. It's amazing. But let's not get distracted here.
Yeah.
Again, the average person, not ready for Jack Cruz.
No, don't even know what a mitochondria is. So let's rein it back.
So back to the importance here of simplifying this stuff. It's like, for example, I think I tried them twice, never used them again. Everybody's all obsessed about doing these. Oh, it's gut health. It's gut health. It's gut health. So now you go into the dairy section and at the grocery store, and people are buying these certain products. You know what I'm talking about? These products that are going to help with my gut biome. I got to drink this. You know.
Are you talking about like kefir shots or something?
Kefir or
kombuchas? What are you talking about?
Not even, well, I see some people, you say kombucha too, right? And
I like kombucha, and I use kombucha.
And I use kombucha from time to time. But just like, if people don't know how to use the product properly,
thank you, marketing.
Right? So let's be real here. Like, for example, I love the juice bar in Easton that now has an Allentown branch. You know what I'm talking about.
Greenmouth?
Greenmouth, yes. Yeah. So, but when you buy that vial that's already pre-juiced, that does not mean you drink that entire vial that day.
No.
Yeah, but they don't really by the way, there's 3 to 4 servings. I actually like to think this more. I consider more 5 to 6 servings in my experience, because again, you've juiced, you've removed the essential fibers. That actually slow down your absorption. So you're looking at a big sugar bomb.
I see where you're going with all this. Yes, 100%.
So where am I going with that?
Yeah.
I mean, how would you speak to some of this?
There is a term I like to use called a false healthy halo. So there's a lot of foods out there that have been marketed to us, and we're led to believe are very healthy, because the food marketing does a great job of selling the healthy idea of this product to us. And you talk about juices. I have had multiple people, intelligent people, multiple clients coming to me, talking to me about these. Oh, well, I drink this, I'm not going to name a brand. I drink this mango juice every day. And I'm like, how about you have a mango? Let's talk about what this juice is doing. And there's a lot of times there's even added sugars in some of these juices, because when you go to Greenmouth, you're buying something that was made fresh. When you go to the grocery store, you're buying something that has to be shelf stable. And one of the ways they make something shelf stable is adding sugar to it. So
it's being used as not just a stabilizer, but technically it's a preservative. Right? So.
Yep, exactly. So the juices that you can find in stores like that they're loaded with sugar, and absolutely sure they're loaded with a lot of vitamins that you maybe wouldn't be getting just drinking something else. But that sugar bomb is a negative impact on your body, and it's much better to try and get your vitamins like that from the whole food source as much as possible. Or if you're going to use a juice, use it in a supplemental way, not as a meal. I've had people say, I use these big bottles of juice for a meal, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, great nutrient density, high sugar density. So let's figure out how we can get those nutrients and not the blood sugar spike at the same time.
Right. So, and again, real quick on the blood sugar spike, we're referring to blood sugar spike, and I brought this up in past episodes because this is important from what I've been learning as well. And the 2 hormones here that we're relating to that are going to be affected by that is leptin and ghrelin. And I'm sure you can agree, our goal is to baseline that and remove the crazy aggressive spikes. Because if you have these crazy aggressive spikes, leptin and ghrelin, man, they're all over the place. And this is this is why I tell people, like, I literally tell people I can't overeat because number one, I eat very clean.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I eat the right portions, right? So I have the right fats and proteins, which actually fill me up and satiate me besides my healthy veggies.
They send the signal to your brain letting you know you're full. There's food present, fuel present.
But if I was down in tons of sugar, leptin and ghrelin send false signals, right? Because if everything's all over the crate, I think it's leptin then tells the brain, oh, I'm not full, I'm not satiated. Keep going. I think I got the right one.
And ghrelin stimulates it's your hunger stimulator. Yep.
There you go. So this is why it's like, guys, like, I'm not saying you go completely crazy like me and go no sugar, no grain. It took time for me to get to that level, and I still have glasses of red wine. So technically, I'm not 100% no sugar, no grain. I'm putting life into living. But the point here is that we have to look at what we're putting in, not just the quantities. I mean, again, to your point, if you go straight to the source, you're probably going to get a great source, right? Going to Greenmouth, they're going to do a great job. I love it. Every time I'm near one of the places, I'll grab one. I'm not a regular consumer of it. It's once in a great while. And then I bring the bottle home and I put it in the refrigerator because I didn't drink all of it. And then I'm like, I throw a little shot in, over the next few days. I just treat it's like when I do my olive oil. I mean, obviously I cook with my olive oil too, but I do a shot of straight olive oil because it's just a great way to start the day. I don't know what it is. It's just, it lubricates my vocals for the podcasting. It's awesome.
It works for you. Go for it. Not doing anything bad.
I learned that from Vinny. That's how Vinny Tortorich, that's how he started using it years ago for his podcast. Like his voice was scratchy, and his other Italian co-host, Anna Bocchino, who wrote that book, Eat Happy. Great book, by the way. You got to check that out. I've literally sent that to everyone in my family. It's actually a cookbook. It's, so cool. Super clean eating, grain-free eating. So amazing. She's Italian, so the flavors, oh my God. She knows how to properly use healthy fats. It's amazing. But she's like, that olive oil I gave you? And he's like, yeah. She's like, just go do a shot of that right now. You'll be fine. So anyway, but I think it's important to keep educating people on the simplicity here. We're getting, again, more scientific, more aggressive, but it comes down to not just how clean you're eating, but how are you breaking up the proportions and the quantities? Because again, like I joke around, I can't overeat. My metabolism is super high, but also I built myself to this point. I turned 40 this year, and everybody's like, oh, wait till you get past 40 to 42 is when everything's going to go crashing down. And I'm like, no, it won't, because my lifestyle's already dialed in. You guys fell off the cliff because you were eating tons of sugar, sitting in your desk all day behind a computer. Like you have not been building what I've built. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that. So
there's a lot of truth to that. I think that the idea that you fall off you get less healthy, there's some magic number where everything starts falling apart. Well, there's aging, but there's a lot of really cool science that goes into cellular aging and how our lifestyles can increase cellular aging or decrease cellular aging and help us slow down the aging process in a healthy way. And you've built a healthy body, you've built a healthy metabolism. But something else that I hear when I talk to you is you have a really good intrinsic idea of what's happening with your body. Not everybody has that connection. They don't, not everybody understands when I eat this, I feel this way. When I exercise, I feel this way. Not everybody has that. So getting, you've been able to get to the point that you're at because you've got a good relationship and a good understanding and a good awareness of what's going on with your body. A lot of times when I have clients come in, they have no idea. And just getting them to start to associate and to start to listen to the feedback that their body gives them is hugely important. And I think in some ways that's where blanketed diets can be not helpful, or blanketed one-size-fits-all meal plans can be not very helpful because somebody just takes a paradigm and applies it to their life, but they don't stop to really pay attention to the feedback their body's giving them. They say, I'm supposed to be eating these foods these times, I'm supposed to be doing this, but it's not working for me. Why isn't it working for me? Or I don't feel good. Well, what's your body telling you? Let's pull that apart and understand it and figure out why, because not everybody will do well with a no sugar, no grain diet. Some people physiologically shouldn't. And so, but some people do fantastically on it. And it also depends where you are on that paradigm. We've talked about this before, that I don't like to take anybody, you like the switch. You can't switch it on and off.
No,
I don't like
no.
to take somebody's life and turn it 180 degrees because it's too extreme, and it
It
starts
is.
to create an unhealthy relationship with trying to become healthy. It becomes too difficult. It becomes too stressful. So then people give up. So learning to find a way to meet people where they're at and help them progress along the paradigm. So you've been on the paradigm for a while. You've been making gradual progress. You didn't go from McDonald's to where you are now in the
No,
last 2
this is,
months.
I can
Yeah.
actually rewind because it was all over social media, but I work with that Isogenics nutrition company, and I was
Mm-hmm.
at one of their university events this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't gone to one in a while, and I really appreciated where they've come from when I found them back in 2010, because that was my awakening. That was me, like, because I was so toxic from the firefighting to finding
Mm-hmm.
I went through one of their cleansing detox systems, and that was the first time that I truly finally like heard or felt my body. Like it was like, oh, this is the feedback loop that I was so toxic that I wasn't listening. Like things all of a sudden started tasting better. My energy shot through the roof. I was like, oh my God, what the hell's going on? Now, granted, it doesn't mean isogenics is the only thing that's going to do that, right? That's just, it worked. It was a system to follow. I've never done it in my life, never did a cleansing, never did a detoxing. Again, years later, I've learned, okay, well, first of all of our bodies are capable of detoxing. The issue is most of us are unhealthy enough, or so unhealthy that our body's natural detoxification processes are beat down and they're not running at full steam ahead.
And
So
they're
we need
overwhelmed.
that.
There's too much coming in, and the detoxification
It's
systems
bombarded.
can't keep up.
Right. So our liver's taxed out, gallbladder's taxed out, everything's taxed out. So that was and so again, rewind, that's 2010. You and I are talking here in 2017. So my journey has been 7 years. And that first year or two was very slow. I was not doing anywhere near what I do nowadays. So that's 7 years of my life of learning, listening, trial and error, stuff work, stuff not work. And that's why I keep telling people, like, guys, like I was at that event with some of my team members, and we're talking about that. I'm like, if I could rewind back to 2010, I want to go back and smack myself, because I was like, I love the programs so much that I was like, this is going to work for everybody. I was like, I years later,
There's
it's like,
no
no,
one
Scott,
size fits all.
my psyche is different than other people. That's the other thing. When you said the crazy extreme, I'm wired that way. If I commit to something, boom, it's just done. That's just what I do. Not everybody does that. To your point, if someone makes such a drastic change in their life, and this is not just nutrition, this is, and unfortunately, years later in 2000, hold on a second, 2007, 2008, those years I was taking psychology courses, in the evenings, those psych classes helped wake that up in me, and I had to remind myself of that knowledge that was taught to me was that the average human being, if you create such a drastic shift, like when people lose their job, lose the love of their life, somebody dies, or they move, they relocate, or these are all such a drastic shift of lifestyle that this is what triggers a lot of depression, stress, everything. So this totally relates to that. You want to try and completely flip your healthy lifestyle from an unhealthy to a full healthy. It's just, you're going to reject it. The average brain is going to have problems with that.
It creates too much stress. And one of the things I tell my clients all the time, give me feedback. If this process is stressful, it's the wrong process. We need to adapt it because stress is unhealthy. And I want to create a long-term healthy relationship with food, and creating a stressful relationship with food does not create a healthy long-term relationship with food. Yeah. And all of these extreme momentary plans create that stress. And I'd like to dispel that as best as I can. And I had a client in the office today, and she's in her mid 40s, early 50s range. And she's frustrated that things aren't happening for her quicker. And I wanted to rail against the diet industry and this false belief that's come from these rapid weight loss plans. And you can absolutely get somebody to drop weight really, really fast, but are you building a healthy body at the same time? And our paradigm absolutely has to shift from weight loss to building health. We need to focus more on building health, because you can create a very unhealthy body and lose weight really quick.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I tell people all the time, whether you use my programs or your programs, I don't care who you are, like especially my programs, if they're doing the cleansing piece of it, guys, I was like, your first 30 days, a good chunk of that is inflammation, water weight. Like you're finally flipping your body into a super healthy state to just start cycling that out. And so I tell people, like, we see some of the most significant weight shifts. Like I've seen upwards of 100 pounds. And this is somebody who was like 500 pounds. I've seen
that
upwards,
had to be morbid obesity.
Yeah, let's we're talking about
different
a whole
metabolism.
Level.
Yeah.
But like, I'll give an example, like my mom and my dad, and they haven't done it since because they haven't clicked into the whole long-term lifestyle thing. But the point is, like, I ran into one of my programs and my mom was frustrated because my dad was losing stuff faster. I'm like, it's a guy
greater
thing.
Muscle density, guy
right?
thing, testosterone, more muscle, more water, more
Everything.
carbohydrate stores, more watershed. Yep.
But in the end, they both dropped over a 30 to 60 day period, 30 plus pounds. And I was happy with that. And I said, that's fine. I was like, yeah, obviously the first chunk was very, very fast in that first month because they went from never doing anything to just, finally really putting like peak nutrition in, going through detoxing, never done a detox or a cleanse in their life. And this is a fully supported system. So they were fine. And at the time they were in their 60s. So it's like, I was impressed that they actually followed the program.
Yeah. For that duration of time, that's impressive. That's good.
Yeah. But I also told my guys, like, it doesn't stop here. This is a lifestyle. And they would limp along for the next like month or two and then they weren't listening to me. That's why people tell you, like, the hardest people to help are your friends and family.
Yeah,
it's too close.
Kinda.
You're too close.
Yeah. Did they maintain that loss or did it creep back on them?
My dad maintained the loss, but at the time they still had a heavy grain diet because one of my dad's doctors was telling them literally to eat Cheerios and not eat eggs. I wanted a Cheerio. So yeah.
Oh, the healthy halo right there.
Cheerios are heart healthy. I'm like, no, it is
those
not.
2 grams of fiber or 3 grams of fiber you're getting, but it's from oats.
Yeah. First of all, even if I take grains out of the equation, this is a manufactured children's cereal.
Very high glycemic.
Right. Very high glycemic. You have not just the grains, which by the way, the reason why I talk about grains is that sugar grams that are listed on the box, that does not include the sugar value when those grains are converted in your body to sugar because they get converted to sugar. So it doesn't even include that, right? And it's like nowadays with the whole, oh, well, there's this many grams of sugar, but then when you read the ingredient section below the bar, the graph that's on that they're legally held accountable for on there, then they can sneak in sugar alcohols in the ingredients list. And people don't realize that is not included in that gram value. I can get into a whole different show just on reading labels.
Oh, I know. The sugar alcohol thing gets me too. And it's terrible for people's guts. You mentioned earlier about, gut health and gut microbiome, and those sugar alcohols, no bueno.
Well, alcohol in general, like if you take sugar out and just use the word alcohol. Hello, it's kind of a toxin, right? It's going to be a little more aggressive. I always tell people, like, well, what's better, having the sugar alcohols or sugar? I'm like, well, my answer is none. but
I'm not giving up my red wine. That's not happening.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to have my red wine. But again,
there's
in moderation.
Loads of resveratrol in that.
Yes.
And there's some really interesting studies on telomere health and moderate red wine consumption.
Well, I cheat on the telomere health too because we literally have a product that is at the DNA level for telomere health that I've been taking for about a year now. So
okay.
It came out years ago, but I just wasn't ready to embrace it back then, right? Like my lifestyle is changing. It's like, okay, what is my next hack that I want to figure out? But to your point, you can do a lot of things through natural sources, but in the end, we're also limited by those natural sources, which is why I am a proponent and supporter of how do I word this the right way? The proper or the right supplementation.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You can't live off of supplements. You probably could find a way to live off of supplements, but you really shouldn't.
Yeah, no.
Like we tell people, guys, you can do a shake. Like we do shakes. I do shakes too, but we don't live off of shakes. You have to eat whole, rich vegetables. You need the fiber content and not the fortified fiber, like you just said, they put into like Cheerios, for example.
Yeah, no, it's eye-opening when you take a look. And we've been so enculturated to think as soon as we think fiber, we think grains. The media and marketing has done that to us. But when you really pull it apart and look at the foods that are richest in fiber, really isn't the grains. It's
Mhm.
it's not the grains. It's your vegetables and it's some legumes. It's not the grains. You're
Yeah.
really not getting that much fiber from your grains.
Well,
You're
and
getting some, but not that much.
not to get political, but if people, because I love history, history's powerful. We technically have already studied this. People just don't realize the connection is that we studied the Dust Bowl, and when farming was failing in this country many years ago, and the
Mm-hmm.
government had to step in and subsidize it and reinforce that industry to save it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, again, I'm not going to get into the whole when government should not stick their nose into business, blah blah blah. But to be fair, they were trying to save the health of our nation and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's not needed anymore, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there's that's not, it never went away. It's still subsidized.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got people who are making money off of grains, and the government's making money off of grains, of course they're going to have that in the food pyramid as one of the biggest components that they
Yeah.
have to focus on. And I tell people, like, listen, maybe you don't need to ever take grains completely out of your diet, but at least flip our current food pyramid upside down
Mm-hmm.
and reproportionate that, and you're going to see some major shifts in health.
Yes,
So,
for general health, for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know what kind of pyramid you guys build as far as a food pyramid, but
I don't work with pyramids.
yeah, there we go. I love it. I love it.
I just honestly, because it's really, I think the biggest thing that we're learning in my industry is how bio-individual we all are, and
Mhm.
how diets and meal planning and what's appropriate for one person is going to be different for another person. We all have different liver enzyme profiles and different genetic makeup. And I think a new area that I'm really fascinated to follow is nutrigenomics and genetic testing, and incorporating that information to help a person eat specifically for what their body does best with.
Yeah,
Some
before
people
that,
cannot process proteins the way you can. So for them to be on a totally meat heavy diet, they wouldn't do as well. But other people, not so much.
yeah, I've actually recently, I just listened to the Fitfluential podcast, and they had on a very famous longtime vegan, for
Mm-hmm.
example, and he was a vegan, very outspoken vegan, very going. I mean, again, I don't care. I respect everybody's lifestyle, vegetarian, vegan,
Mm-hmm.
pescatarian, whatever. But eventually, you have to also listen to your body.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was never overweight, and then because of years of being a vegan,
Mm-hmm.
he started putting on lots of inflammatory weight.
Mm-hmm.
He was consuming
Mm-hmm.
way too much soy,
Mm-hmm.
and his body was so out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
And his buddy basically said, listen, or his doctor actually, I'm sorry, I think it was his buddy, and now I remember, his doctor literally came out and said, listen, you need to flip immediately, or else I'm not going to be able to talk to you next year. You are going that far down that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I know I'm stepping on some crazy things here. I'm not saying don't go vegan. I'm just saying you got to listen to your body. You got to monitor this stuff.
100%. Some people, vegan is a good option for them physiologically, but for other people, not so much. But I think the problem becomes
how long?
Fair.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. It's still all this. That's why I tell people, like, you just be aware. Like, all this stuff is still being defined. Nothing is.
Oh my gosh, science. It's evolving very quickly.
Yeah. So, but like, and he admitted, he's like, he was over 10 years, and it was fine in the beginning, but he figured out after missing some very essential macronutrients and other nutrient densities that was components that were missing from his lifestyle, essential cholesterol, things of that nature for cellular health. He literally said, when he listened to the doctor, his doctor said, listen, I want you to go paleo, even if it's just one small little nugget a day, right? Just something like meat, for example, to put back in. And he said his first day back was hard, but he said when he did, in the first 3 days, he had dropped like 20 pounds. And I was like,
that's
really?
Very dynamic.
It's
yeah,
very dynamic.
That's unusual.
And he said one of the reasons why is, I mean, he said, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what that was, but he's like, I noticed that a lot of that was, negative inflammatory weight. He basically cut the excessive soy and made that flip for the protein value. And then, obviously he still had a very, very rich vegetable content and everything else. But again, I wasn't there to monitor the whole thing. I was just like, wow, man, that's a crazy shit. But he was that, his doctor basically said he was that inflamed, and his body was in that much stress.
It's really difficult. One of the things with vegans that I struggle when I work with them, because I work with them and that we find a good balance with their macronutrients. There's a lot of shifting, but what ends up happening, this is an interesting whole other podcast, is that they shift from their processed regular food and they just shift to processed vegan foods. They start
Yeah.
eating tofu based
Yes.
junk food, and
Yes,
it's
it's
just
still
more
manufactured
processed
crap.
food. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
But there's this sense of a healthy halo because, well, it's vegan. And this
No.
vegan label then makes it healthy. Well, that's not entirely true.
That was a great way to take this conversation. This isn't, and this is great for our listeners, guys. Like, again, and I mentioned at the beginning of the show, but guys, like, you want to follow Erin, like, make sure you go into Mind of the Athlete, and I'll have all this linked to the show notes because she's in Instagram and everything else. I want to make sure they're checking in and they know how to follow you because, guys, like, it doesn't matter if you're a vegan, a vegetarian, a pescatarian, if you're following the paleo lifestyle, if you're doing the keto or ketogenic lifestyle, which, by the way, do not just dive into that one because I'm still testing that one out. That is taking some work for me.
Yeah, that's one that you have to keep an eye on.
But I'm having fun with it. So the point is, I love this term. That's gonna be the title of this episode. A fake healthy halo. I wrote it on my erase board here.
Oh, nice, cool.
Because that's a very unique title, and I love that because, or I'm sorry, you say fake or false? That's false.
False.
Thank you.
You can call it fake.
That's why now dry erase boards help. I took my finger and fixed it. So the point here, guys, is that, okay, if you are going to go vegan, great. I mean, if you feel it's going to make you a more powerful lifestyle, or maybe you're that passionate about animals, wonderful. I'm not going to judge you on that. But to your point, Erin, is that thanks to marketing, and I can't, it pisses me off because I'm a marketing professional.
Gluten-free is the same thing too.
Right? Oh, don't get me on. That's a whole other episode. Gluten-free.
Sorry, I'm poking the bear.
You're giving us the next couple of episodes that you're going to come back on.
Perfect. Good.
We can have a whole gluten-free episode. But there's your point, guys. Like, I hate to say it, you can't trust the labels, okay? Organic and gluten-free on a label does not mean it's healthy for you. It does not.
No.
And, it's vegan friendly. Okay, so what? I literally saw that on a bottle of ketchup. I'm like, dude, they were going to buy the ketchup anyway. You sticking vegan friendly on there, it's tomatoes. Of course it's vegan friendly or vegetarian friendly.
But really think about that though, with your marketing brain. It gives people the sense they're doing something healthy for themselves by buying that ketchup.
Everything now is, they put the GF, they put the GF for gluten-free, they put the vegan thing, they put the vegetarian thing, and then they'll put in, also if it's the organic model, because even like Heinz has an organic product of ketchup. But now, you look at all those colorful symbols on the front, marketing, boom, I'm going to buy that. That's the healthiest ketchup on the shelf. Whereas if you actually turn the bottle around and you read the freaking label,
and see how much sugar?
I don't use any ketchup anymore because it's full of sugar. So I love that. So that's a great example for your false healthy halo. So
yeah, absolutely.
So how would you, in an easy way, help our listeners battle this false healthy halo? Besides as simple as read the freaking labels.
Well, that's, it could be a whole other show talking about how to read labels and what to interpret and how to demystify the marketing so that you understand what's healthy. You know what? The easiest, most simple step, the least amount of packaging, the least amount of processing from farm to plate, from field to table. So you go in and you're buying your broccoli. Guess what? There's no added sugar. There's no processing. There's no preservatives. You're just buying a whole food. You go in, and then there's the whole organic, pesticide issue that goes along with all of that too. But let's just keep it really simple for the purpose of making it the simplest step forward. Buy whole, minimally processed vegetables, fruits, and meat and dairy products.
Well, it's like,
keep
guys,
it simple.
People say they're really they're too busy they buy, for example, frozen broccoli. Now, I will say I did some research into, like, at Wegmans, for example, our local high-end grocery store, and I did see an organic broccoli, flash frozen, supposedly right at the source. And there should not be any sugar added to that, obviously. It's just frozen broccoli. Now, the issue here now is, obviously, we're talking about bioavailability of nutrients, right? So, to your point, yes, buy whole foods. And you said not just the shortest path, but also the shortest time from farm.
Oh my gosh, with all the farmers markets coming around in our area now, that's awesome stuff. CSAs, all that.
But everybody says, I don't have time to go grocery shopping. No, the difference is you haven't prioritized it yet.
Oh,
Once you start eating healthy, that will become a priority. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how much money you make. You want to fuel your body. If you end up on a hospital bed with millions of dollars and you can't
Cost to
spend it,
benefit ratios.
right? Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, totally.
So, but here the thing is, like, the whole organic thing is like, I can go to Costco and get a bag of organic avocados from Guatemala. Okay, so how long did those organic avocados sit in shipment until they got to me?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way that is fresh. I mean, but then again, also avocados aren't really grown around here, so I gotta.
Yeah, you gotta.
That's
And
a hard battle.
avocados don't ripen until the ripening process until they're off the tree. They're a unique they're a unique fruit. So
that's the other thing. That's a unique fruit. But there is a lot of products out there where now there's been some. This is a whole other episode too. There's a lot of farms now. They have figured out how to either quickly grow or basically cycle the growth where they can pick stuff weeks in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So then they've got plenty of time to work it through distribution, shipping,
and the ripening
freezing,
is
not
happening
freezing.
off the plant.
Right. But then
so
the
nutrient
problem is,
density
though,
tanks.
right, there's exactly. That's what I'm telling you, like, your nutrient density is weak. The good thing is I will actually go to a farmer's market, and even if it's not organic, because he couldn't afford to pay the fees to have an organic choice. Sometimes I'm like, screw the chemicals. I do detoxing and cleansing on a regular basis. I'd rather take the nutrient dense local product than the stuff coming from California, Guatemala, Mexico, whatever. I mean, I don't know if you want to take a position on that, but
honestly, to your point with the frozen vegetables and frozen fruits, a lot of, it's different from when we were younger. I can remember my mom buying frozen vegetables and they were like in a block of ice. The processing now with the flash freezing, there's a lot more nutrients that are preserved. And the other thing is they're picked more often. Those are the products that are picked and they're ripe when they're picked, and then they're flash frozen. They're not picked prematurely and then ripened off the plant.
Interesting point.
Sometimes, and there's a pretty okay nutrient density. There are some fruits and vegetables that I use frozen and I'd have no problem with it. And there's also the attainable lifestyle. You talk about people who say that they don't have time. Well, if they have time to prepare a bag of frozen broccoli, but they don't have time to cut the broccoli that's fresh, okay, I would rather you eat the frozen broccoli than no broccoli. Yes. So it's all about finding what works for a person's lifestyle. And one of the things I do with my clients, of course, if I can grow my own broccoli, go pick it and make it myself that day, that's optimal, but that's not realistic for everybody. So finding what works with their lifestyle and cleaning it up as much as possible with their lifestyle is really important. And one of the things I do with my clients is I do grocery tours with them, and I go through and I help them find things that are attainable, easy to use, that fit their lifestyle, that fit their taste preferences. And it's also a great educational tool because I'm in there with all the marketing and all the labels, and I get to start pointing out to people and showing them and educating them how to really look at the labels. And the questions people come up with in those grocery tours, it's really interesting. It's really fun.
Well, I'm glad you made that point over the frozen, because a lot of people do depend on frozen because they travel a lot, business professionals, for example, or just busy parents. They're just trying to do the best they can for the family. So the point is just put the effort in and do what you can and try and keep it as whole and as clean as possible. No, don't be buying, and when we say buy the frozen vegetables, we're talking about the whole vegetables. Like, you don't go into the frozen section and then you go buy that mixed medley with the included sauce pack or whatever those things are.
Good point. No. Yes. No, just pure flash frozen vegetable. Yep. Yep. If you want to add stuff after that, that's fine. Because remember, some of those nutrients are fat soluble. You add a little bit of butter, olive oil, it's all good. I had one client, it happens to me very often actually, where they say, well, my kids will eat broccoli, but they have to have cheese sauce with it. And I was like, okay. No. So let them have the cheese sauce because they're getting used to eating the broccoli. Let them dip it in the cheese sauce. They're still getting the nutrients from the broccoli.
And please tell me you're making your own cheese sauce and not buying the manufactured cheese sauce.
I just encourage them to melt organic cheese on top of it.
Well, and that's just it. Like, I literally grab a head of broccoli, boom, boom, like a couple of chops. I throw it right in a pot. I got one of those like metal steamer trays. I don't even have a professional steamer. I just, one of those drop-in things you get in the cooking aisle at the grocery store. It springs open. Yeah, I just spring it open. It fills the bottom of the pot. I put in ½ inch of water. I drizzle some olive oil in there because I want the olive oil to steam with the broccoli. Throw the whole head in there after I cut it up. Then boom, it's like steaming 2 minutes. like
Mhm.
if that. And then right before it's because it's super, super hot, all the steam is built up, I put the lid right back on. And then I quickly take a shaver and I shave out some fresh Parmesan
Oh,
because the
yum.
harder, oh,
And
dude, the
fresh
harder,
garlic,
yeah, the
pepper,
harder
yum.
cheese too. Oh God, dude. And then I take the lid off, I throw the broccoli on the plate, and I just toss the shavings right on there.
Mhm.
And the heat from the broccoli
Yeah.
melts the cheese.
Mhm.
So I have that's a dinner with no microwave.
Yeah. Yep. Totally
And
fair.
literally, it took 5 minutes. Like
Yeah.
5 minutes. While it was steaming, I was shaving the Parmesan and everything, and I
Mhm.
had the grinders out with my pink sea salt and all that, like
Mhm.
ready to rock. So boom. So
Yep.
yeah, that's a quick hack for your broccoli people.
Fair enough.
So again, to our listeners, guys, we talked about it before, mindoftheathlete.com. Erin Sparrold, and that's with 2 R's. So it's ERINSPARROLD. Follow her on Instagram because the lunch she posted, I think it was like 6 days ago, like last week, was awesome. You were at Whole Foods, and
Oh, yeah.
I see like pumpkin seeds and fresh vegetables and the chickpeas and garbanzos. I'm like, oh my
I
God, that
love
looks
their
amazing.
salad bar.
Yeah.
I love
yeah.
their salad
I
bar.
work over there all the time. I love working in that little cafe. So,
Yep.
So again,
Surprised I
that's
haven't
the
seen you
point.
there.
Well, hey, I get around, right? Starbucks, Whole Foods. So, to our listeners, this is what it's all about. You want to follow her on Instagram at Erin Sparrow. Just go right to the website. You can find her on there. You can go to Facebook. She's on Facebook as well. But the point here is like, if you don't have the knowledge, find the people, follow the people that have the knowledge, and just start learning, slowly absorbing, because you can get really, really overwhelmed very, very quickly, as we discussed today. So just start putting in the reps little by little. You know, 1 new lesson a week, maybe. Don't go crazy. And I already mentioned that cookbook earlier, guys. So our listeners, like, check out Anna Vocino's cookbook, Eat Happy. I've talked about it before. It's Eat Happy Cookbook. It's all over Amazon. It'll blow your mind. But Erin, as always, we have many more episodes now we have to follow up on because of all your ideas today. And I'm definitely going to target this as a false healthy halo. It's on the board, so that's going to be our title. So,
nice.
As always, you get the final word of the show. So what would you like to sum up or leave as a final message here as you're progressing here? It's second quarter now. We're second quarter business speak of 2017. Wow. So a lot of new stuff happening. What's your message?
My message, what I want people to, the golden nugget I want them to walk away from this with is keeping everything simple. Take one step at a time. Listen to how you've progressed, Scott, how you've taken your time. It's taken you 7 years, if I understood the timeline right,
Yep.
to get to the point where you're at right now. Your listeners, if they're just starting to take a dive into a healthy lifestyle, understand it takes time. It's a process. Don't expect perfection from yourself overnight, and don't expect perfection even at the finish line. There's no finish line. It's a constant process where you continue to learn, you continue to grow, you continue to adapt your lifestyle and get healthier.
I love that message. All right, hang tight. I'll give you a proper goodbye. Okay. All right, listeners, there's her message. And if I could sum all that up, I love everybody uses the acronym KISS, but we're going to define it even nicer. It's going to be keep it super simple so it aligns with her messaging. So again, that's another Live the Fuel episode, gang. We're here to fuel your health, your business, your lifestyle. She clearly nailed it on the health and the lifestyle today, 2 of our primary 3 domains. We're here to help you guys, whether you're Gen X, whether you're millennials. Start taking the action now. Thanks for listening in. And keep on to live the fired up epic life. We'll talk to you guys again soon. All right, podcast recording is done. So
awesome.
This is just bonus reel for the YouTube stuff.
Okay.
Now that I got the Zoom system now, so.
Oh, okay, cool.
But I'm glad we were able to get back on. This is good. Yeah. Things have been crazy. It's like I was like, that's why I had to send that email to you guys because I'm like, oh man, I got to get them back in because like your messaging is so key, and I want to keep you guys cycling regularly because it's just going to keep driving more people to you. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, we appreciate the exposure, and it's always fun talking with you and hearing what you've been up to. You've been doing a lot of stuff yourself. You've been busy.
Yeah, and then I lost my virtual assistant. He closed his business, so like.
Oh no.
Now I'm like, I'm currently using a new audio engineer that I found through Fiverr. I'm experimenting with him. So like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that I didn't have to worry about since day 1 of launch, I now have to worry about.
Oh no, so all the publishing and all of that.
Yep.
That's on you now.
So, which is fun. I mean, it's good for me to listen to the episode and write my own show notes a little bit, but I'm going to be outsourcing that again too, because I'd rather have somebody pre-write it and then I go back through and do it because I want to be focusing 100% on you guys, the co-hosts. So it's just that obviously you got to pay to play. So I'm trying to, this is a free podcast right now. Well, free to the listeners, not free to me. So
yeah, I'm curious about that. Is it okay that I ask? In fact, one of my clients was asking me today, like, how do you what is your game plan for turning this into something else, something profitable for yourself? How does that evolve?
Well, it's just like what we talked about in this episode. It's about being patient, putting in the reps, right? So
Okay.
once the show starts reaching consistency, at least of 1,000 to 2,000 downloads per episode or per day, then you've got like really it's per day. You got real viable data that if companies start interested in you, or you want to approach companies to be sponsors, you got to have some proof, right? It's like it's still young. I mean, we're having 100 to 200 plus download dailies now, so we're building. I mean, we're over. I think we're getting near 16,000 downloads. I don't even know now. So the show has grown a lot, and especially really the past 60 days has been the most growth we've had yet.
You've done a great job promoting it. It's everywhere. You're doing a great job with it.
That's the goal. So and that's why the website's so important, because all those keywords eventually, now it's been out for over 6 months, like Google's grabbing the content. So it'll be increasing exposure for people like you and everything else, because now when people start Googling people's names, if it's been in the episode, like my goal is to start ranking the show up there. So if people start looking for famous people like Brian Smith from UGG Boots, it's like, I want my show up there, because then people are finding it. So it's being patient. You got to put in the work. And that's why I tell people all the time, like building an online brand does not happen overnight. It's like, what do I spend on Google ads and Facebook ads? And I'm like, how about you just start putting in the reps and putting the content out there and worry about that later? Because if you have no content to share, what's the point? So, but that's but eventually it would be really cool, because I love podcasting. If this became one of my primary platforms, and I could just be a podcast. There's people who literally are just podcasters, like the famous John Lee Dumas and other people. Like they have enough sponsorship to pay for the show, and then a few extra things. But also, when you build your brand, it also builds your authority in your space. Like I have interest to expand my public speaking. I love talking to people and teaching. So the podcast can be an authority building platform, not just for you guys, the co-host, but for myself. So as somebody who's bringing that all together, so that'll just help me grow my brand, and then I'll be able to justify other things. So it's right now, it's just a piece of Living Fuel, but it could easily really eclipse everything else I'm doing. And then that becomes the primary marketing platform for not just all you guys, but also me. And then that will help me build public speaking events, which is monetized, get me more clients from a consulting standpoint, but obviously bigger ones, things like that. So I don't know yet. To sum that up.
Cool. Fair enough. I just didn't, because I'm like the science nerd. I don't know the business aspect. I was just kind of curious, like how that
podcasting
grows.
is exploding right now. There's thousands of shows that get launched every year, but many of them have not gotten this far. So many people give up sometimes the first few months because they're losing consistency. So that's why, like, I pay $100 a month just to keep the website up and the podcast flowing. So that, I'm dropping $1,200 a year right now just on overhead to keep the show going. So people say, "Oh yeah, podcasting's free." It's just, I could find a way to run the podcast for free, but the platform that I'm on, the website that I'm using, is easy for me. That's why I'm investing in that. And I truly believe if you have some skin in the game, it holds you more accountable. So
fair.
And also, to be fair, like my Isogenics business, that's my business. So I'm actually sponsoring myself, because every once in a while I just trickle it in. I don't dwell on it. It's not crazy. I did have a more heavy Isogenics episode come out on Friday, and then I was at that university this weekend, so that's going to be a heavy, focus on that nutrition company. But if you notice from the show's history, I don't talk a lot about that. So it's just, you just casually bring stuff in. So.
Yeah. There's another podcast that I follow called Endurance Planet, and I don't know if you've ever listened to her stuff. She gets some pretty good people in, and it's an interview process similar to what you're doing. But she always has an ad in the beginning, and products that she offers through her website. So I was just So because you talk about all these products you work with.
There's many different ways to monetize. So like Isogenics, that's one thing. I mentioned Villa Capelli only because I love their product. Like I tell people, like I don't have any sponsorships right now. And yes, if I took on sponsorships, then there's different values. Like if they want to be a pre-reel during the show or at the end of the show. To me, I don't want to mix up the flow of my show ever. So if I ever do consider a sponsorship, it's going to be at the beginning or the end. I'm not talking about you in the middle of my show because it's going to throw off the whole vibe. And when I listen to podcasts, it annoys the hell out of me. And then also, if I turn a podcast on and I have to listen to 5 minutes straight of ads, I never want to be a show like that. I'm okay with having one or two sponsors, and that's it. I can't stand shit because if I have to sit there and keep hitting fast forward,
that's what I do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. With some of them, I just fast forward. Yeah.
I never want to be like that. Eventually, I will have to allow some monetization because I can't just keep dumping money into the show. I want to at least break even because then it's more fun. Because it's like, okay, it's paid for. I don't have to worry about the overhead. So
yeah, that's
right now, you got to put a little hustle in. You got to put a little work in and keep it sustained. So
very cool.
Yeah. So now it's a pay to play.
Totally fair. Well, it was great catching up with you, Scott.
Yes.
Congratulations on everything. It looks like it looks like the podcast is really growing well. I'm happy for you. I'm
loving it. Again, when you get those big names, like Dr. Jack Cruz was the biggest. He blew up the down. He's 5,000 downloads himself. Wow. He's like 1/3 of the show. No other episode has passed 1,000 downloads yet.
Wow.
So no one's going to catch him. I mean, I don't know about Brian Smith. I got to go back and look at his episode and see how he's been doing since we launched it since last week. So, but he's a big public speaker. But that's why I get out and I go to events and I network with people because I want to keep bringing on great new speakers, but also great new relationships. And also they have their own following. So I'm giving them new content like you guys for stuff for you to share. So that's the only thing. That'd be a tip if you could pass back to your marketing girl, what's her name?
Michelle?
Yeah. So I get your emails, but you guys never mention that you've been on a podcast. Like that's content. Like that's like authority building content. Like doing a little cross share here and there on social media, but that's just something to consider. I'm not telling, that he has.
Do you find that it's a good share through email?
Oh yeah, because it's authority building. And it'd just be a second. Like, hey guys, if you haven't checked out, we are now regular co-hosts of the Live the Fuel show. Like you can use that. I don't have.
I'm getting ready to send out an email to. When do you think this one will come out?
Probably next week. So.
Okay, that's perfect. I'm getting ready to because I'm doing a promotion with my past clients on a dietary and nutritional cleanse, 3-week program, the protocols that I've written. And I can include a link for that. I'm going to probably send it out next week. So perfect.
There you go. Perfect. Yep. So, and that's the point. There's already been a few episodes launched and it's digital. So the content's not going to go away. So technically she can go back and then either put them all in one big chunk list. Like, hey, here's our podcast from 2016. Here's what we've done in 2017. Because it's new stuff. It shows that you guys aren't slowing down and you're always doing new things. Okay. And this is unique, right? Not many people can say that. So even me, I don't know if you noticed I don't know if it came through on my last email to you, but I've appeared on a couple other podcasts now. So now I've updated my email signature and I put in here, listen to my show on iTunes, but I also put in here, listen in now to my appearance on the Profit First podcast and listen now to my appearance on the Body Buddies podcast. But I hyperlinked the name of their podcast to my episode. So it's giving me more authority because now people are learning about my name and my show through other people's shows. But anybody else I email, I want to make sure they know that I've been on other shows. It's authority building. It's marketing. So
gotcha.
That's why I was like, they haven't cycled that into their emails yet. I would at least throw a blurb in there because then it shows you guys got some new stuff going on and it's other ways for people to follow you. Because maybe they don't always read the email. Oh, great, they're on a podcast. Cool, I'll have to download that. And now because the whole point here is this.
That's a good point.
It's free content.
Yeah.
They don't have to pay for your time. And a lot of people have to understand that the more free content you can give a client, the more loyalty you build. And I'm already generating it for you. So you've already put the time in. Why not see? It might take some time to build, but you're just putting out more and more good free content besides just an educational email. Now you got ways for people to listen to you too. And now that I'm doing the YouTube stuff, there'll be YouTube stuff too and all that. So, because again, you have customers that probably don't aggressively follow social media, but maybe they're more email focused. So
yeah, that's totally fair. And it's a good way to get the content out there. And from my practice, it helps me tremendously, because the idea of seeing a nutritionist feels very intimidating for a lot of people, because they're afraid of that 180-degree switch. They're
So they can
intimidated by
listen
that.
to you before they have to listen to you.
Yeah, and see, oh, okay, maybe she's not scary. Or for some people, maybe I'm not intense enough, and that's fine. I don't want, it gives them a chance to kind of feel more comfortable with who I am. Yeah.
And if she or you need help with that, I mean, the whole point is it's on the website. So technically, you can just drive everybody to livethefuel.com to your episode, and your episode has its own hyperlink. So, right, it's like, for example, your future episode will be 65 or 66 : a false healthy halo with Aaron Sparrow. And obviously that'll be livethefuel.com / all those words with hyphens in between. But remember, I always do a short code for everybody's show. So technically all you have to do is go back to your shows, and it's livethefuel.com / and the first 3 numbers. You don't even need the rest of it. Because both work. So that's a great way to also say, great, what episode was I on? Okay, I'm just going to use that URL. Like, hey, go check out livethefuel.com / blah. And you can they can just read it right on the website, like a blog article. Or again, if you've ever been to the website, all the shows are linked to the apps. So they can click on iTunes, or they can click on Stitcher, and then just go download your episode too.
Okay, very cool.
There you go, new content.
Yep, and and getting the content out there is important, and we do it through the Facebook and everything. But
But again, that's good for your social media people. But it's like give the full circle. So that's like you remind them, hey, socially, email, hey, this free content's always there for you. And eventually, as you guys grow your episodes, you guys can end up having like a primary list that you put on your website. That's a bit, that's for Jared to think about, but maybe you guys end up putting, I don't know, a spot on the website saying, regular co-hosts on these podcasts, because you've only been on this one yet. But I'm recommending you guys to Vinny Tortorich. His show gets 1 million downloads a month. So
thanks.
I actually, I talked to him last week. He's coming on again, my show. And actually, we're recording again tomorrow night. So
nice.
I'll be airing on his show. And dude, he's famous. Like, he's now like the fitness co-host on the Adam Carolla show, who's the famous comedian.
Yeah.
He's got one of the biggest podcasts ever. Well, that was old school, but yeah. But again, this is cross-pollination, right?
Okay.
So Vinny's come on my show. I'm now going to have an episode on his show. And then he's like, hey, anybody else you ever recommend, send an intro email. So I'm like, boom, I can, So
100%. Thanks.
It's all about referrals. So
yeah, thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. And it's something that we've been wanting to do, and we had an intern here kind of start the podcast thing, but it just fizzled. Yeah, it just fizzled.
And maybe this is easier for you guys, right?
It is, because we don't have the infrastructure or the knowledge yet. So we have to come up the learning curve, the knowledge learning curve, and the infrastructure learning curve, which we're all, to be quite honest with you, pretty busy right now. So we don't have the time to invest in that. So this service that you're doing for us is tremendously appreciated.
Hey, I'm happy to provide that. So, and again, guys, you're helping my content. I'm helping your content. It all works out in the end. And admittedly, as my show grows, that's probably going to end up being, there's a lot of podcasters who have literally created their own podcasting training. I'd consider even just doing that. For you guys already got it easy. You're on my show, but for people who don't have that, it's like, okay, well, if people are trying to learn how easy it is to launch a podcast, there's some work to be done, but I found ways to hack it and make it a little bit easier. So eventually I'll have to find a way to write it all down and turn it into a training or something. I don't know.
In all your spare time.
In all my spare time.
Awesomeness. All right. Well, I need to get cooking because I've got a presentation I have to prepare for Endurance Multisport tonight.
Nice.
And then
and then your friend, you said you're friends with that podcast, or you know that Endurance whatever?
I've known Craig for a bit.
Okay.
Craig, Endurance Multisport. He actually, I think like 7 years ago, I worked with him and his wife.
Okay.
His ex-wife, Erica.
Well, if he's ever interested in having an episode to promote what he does, do a referral there.
Okay, I'll totally mention it to him.
And you said he has his own podcast?
No, he doesn't.
That's a different endurance podcast.
That's Endurance Planet, and that's actually a female exercise physiologist that runs that.
I'd love to bring her on too, and vice versa. We can exchange podcast episodes or something. Because again, she'll fill the help domain easily. So
okay,
I can promote her show.
Okay, very cool. I'm only a follower. I don't know her personally, but
Okay.
I can send you the information on it, and you can
Yeah,
definitely
just shoot
reach
me an email
out.
with her stuff, and I'll check out her show and check her out, and I'll reach out to her because I literally make connections over Twitter. I just now that I have a
Nice.
podcast, like, oh yeah, I'd love to come on your show.
Yeah, very cool.
So it's been pretty easy. I literally I think it's go. You know those electro grounding mats or whatever for grounding your energy or whatever.
Okay.
You know, if you know
So,
what I'm
like,
talking
if
about.
you're working on electronics, or are you talking about more metaphysical stuff?
Like Tony Robbins has like 4 of them.
Okay.
Like you lay out on a mat, and it's about grounding your energy, about how the planet is at a certain frequency and our bodies that are at a certain frequency. And do you know what I'm talking about? A lot of energy
Nope,
stuff.
new stuff to me. But I was just thinking about that this morning about how. But anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, anyway, that the doctor I interviewed this weekend, he knew the president of the company that makes those mats. And he's like, hey, he's like, I don't know if this is into your thing. And if you want everyone to check him out, it's PEMFglobal.com.
Okay.
Like Peter, Edward, Matthew, Frank, global.com. Anyway, so she's not going to come on the show. I
Very
literally
cool.
Facebook messaged her and she already agreed to come on. And it's called their Swiss Bionic IMRS PEMF system. And it looks like
That's a mouthful.
yeah. Long story short, it has something to do with electromagnetic field therapy.
Okay. That's
So
interesting. I was just thinking about energy balance, and not just like
yes.
fuel energy balance, but like electron, like,
Oh,
and how we
literally. Yeah.
interact with our world, and like the energies around us. I was just thinking about that this morning, to be honest with you.
Well, check out her site and you'll be able to learn a little bit more about that because this relates back to the energy and everything that Dr. Cruz talked about, right? All that stuff. So I think he said we're giant conductors or full of electrons, whatever. He had so much stuff he said.
Totally fair. All right, my phone is blowing up, and I've got a lot I got to get to. So it was great catching up with you, Scott.
Take care.
Take care. You too. Bye.
Bye.